Fortune 500 companies pay top dollar to execs who can translate and communicate directly to us. Social media influencers must stay up with our current trends in order to stay relevant. But too often, our opinions and concerns fall on deaf ears when the listener isn't trying to make money off of us. We all know that nothing important can be built without a carefully laid out blueprint, and there is no structure standing in our society that isn't either literally or figuratively in which our fingerprints aren't all over both the design and the construction. But they never seem to ask how we feel about what we've built. Well, now they don't have to ask anymore. Welcome to the Blackprint. And today we have a very special guest. I'm going to bring him in so you guys can meet him as we do. What's going on, Brother John? How you doing, sir? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear, Reg. Can you hear me, man?
Yes, sir. Everything is all good. Last week we had some technical difficulties because the young lady that I had on was in Houston, and they were having a lot of issues down there. So we kept having some connectivity issues. Hopefully this week everything is figured out.
I got a lot of family in Houston, man. I was born in Houston, man. I got a lot of siblings, brothers and sisters down there, man. So they went through it too. And yeah, it was tough, man. But happy everybody's doing better now, bro.
No doubt, brother. So you said you were born in Houston. Is that where you played high school basketball?
No, so I was born in Houston. I didn't spend much time there. My family's originally from New Orleans, Louisiana. So from about 6 months to about 11 years old, I was in New Orleans, Louisiana. I grew up in the Ninth Ward. And then my dad was an electrician. And there wasn't a lot of work down there in New Orleans at that time. This is like 1988, 87, 88. So my dad moved up to New York. And then we followed him about a year later up to New Jersey. So I played high school basketball in New Jersey. So I did from about sixth grade on, I was in Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know Jersey, the last few, I would say decade or so, has surpassed New York as the top high school basketball in the country.
Say that.
I mean, I have my fingerprint all over it. So
yeah,
I know, man, like, in Jersey, they definitely getting it popping at a different level. You know what I mean? To the point where it's kids who live in New York that's waking up 4 a.m. catching 2 trains to go to school in Jersey.
Well, that started back in the day. I mean, New York was always I was the Mecca, right? When I was coming up, I grew up playing against Stephon Marbury, Ron Artest, Lamar Odom, all those guys across the water. But we knew in Jersey it was a different style because they ain't play no defense in New York. They never did. You know what I'm saying? So whenever we went to New York, it was always like a chip on our shoulder coming from New Jersey to kind of prove ourselves, And over the years, when New York basketball just started to decline a little bit. I got my own thoughts on that, but I'm gonna leave that for another day. But the schools in Jersey like St. Pat, St. Anthony. I know Shaheen Holler is one of the first New Yorkers to start coming across the water to Jersey to play. Mm-hmm. And then Jersey just kind of took off over the years, man.
Man, so me being a high school coach and an AAU coach, I'm always trying to soak up knowledge. And I would say that in my travels, the 2 most knowledgeable coaches I've ever come across were Gino Auriemma and the legend Bobby Hurley.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was just like watching his practice or just the way, everything has intention. You know what I mean? There's nothing that he does that doesn't translate directly to the game, and just the amount of players that he's put, in Division I and pros, and he could easily be an NBA coach.
People have no idea, man, because I play AAU, so I played with a lot of AAU with a lot of Jersey City kids, a lot of kids from Jersey City Boys Club. My wife, her whole family is from Jersey City, and a lot of people don't realize that St. Anthony was winning with kids from Jersey City. It
Mhm.
wasn't like these other schools, like St. Pat's and a lot of schools. You're getting kids from all over New Jersey. St. Anthony's did it with cats right from Jersey City for most of the years. They wasn't going for the most part. Maybe a couple kids from Newark, but they was grabbing kids from Jersey City. That's how much talent was just right there across the
Right.
border. And people don't give Bob Hurley enough credit for that, man. He did it with he didn't. They had superstars, but they didn't have the superstars that a lot of other schools had.
Right.
So yeah.
And then he turned his own sons into superstars just because, just from coaching. You know what I mean? Like, because it's not like they were overly athletic. You know what I mean? Like, it was just And that's another thing in my travels. I find that the coach's son is usually pretty good, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, because I think it's something to that. Like, when you sit around the dinner table, you're talking about basketball. You're going to be great at that. I think whatever you're exposed to at a high level, those people that are blessed enough to have high academic fathers, or you know what I mean, or mothers for that matter, just whatever's talked about in the home on a regular basis, the kids will probably be good at.
I mean, if you're gonna be a coach's son, you better be good, because what I always saw was, if it was a coach's son, I was gonna go at him.
Yeah.
So you either gonna hold your own, or we're gonna expose you.
Right.
You just on the team because your daddy is the coach.
Right.
So most coaches' sons had a little chip on their shoulder. They wanted to show you, like, I'm not just out here because my daddy's the coach. So you better be able to play for the most part if we're going to play at a high level and you're a coach's son, or daughter for that matter. Yeah.
So speaking on that, a little bit more about yourself. You played at Villanova, and I think you were the class of '99, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So that time period was, a lot of people consider the golden era of the Big East. I remember, thinking, I think the first team all Big East could probably play the rest of the country and beat them. You know what I mean? Like, because I'm talking about Kerry Kittles and Ray Allen and AI with John Wallace and Lawrence Moulton. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like these
it was crazy.
Yeah, growing up, I was a huge Billy Owens fan. Man.
Me too.
I used to love Billy Owens' game, man.
Me too. I cried when Syracuse lost to Indiana. I remember that. That was like the first college basketball game I ever watched. Not game. First college basketball national championship game I ever watched. And I remember because I think I was still in New Orleans at the time, because they played in the Superdome in New Orleans. It was Syracuse versus Indiana. Keith Smart hit a shot from the corner. I want to say it was 87. And they beat Syracuse. And I cried, man, because I was a Syracuse fan. And that's kind of what really got me into basketball. I had to be like 10 years old or 11 years old. But
for people around our age, I think every black family was either Syracuse or Georgetown.
Or Georgetown.
It's like, you know what I mean? Like, that's what it was. Georgetown was kind of like the de facto black team.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I just finished reading John Thompson's book, man. It's really good. You should check it out.
He got a book out. What's the name of it?
It's called I Came as a Shadow. And God rest his soul. But it is really good, man, because it talks about the basketball aspect, but all the other stuff that he did from a political standpoint, and how, as a black man coming to Georgetown and coaching at a school that's predominantly white, and this is the 80s, and he came with his own, like, I'm gonna make sure my kids graduate. I'll make sure y'all get my kids in. I'm gonna take some kids that a lot of people may not take, or would take a chance on.
Right.
That book is really good, man. And
I was watching a documentary about Rayful Edmond.
Yes, he's in that book. They talk about him in the book.
Okay. Because Rayful was doing an interview, and he was like, John walked up on him.
Yeah.
Like, I need you. I understand where your heart is or whatever, but I need you to stay away from my guy. Because I think Alonzo Mourning got subpoenaed to speak in front of a grand jury because of his relationship.
I'm not gonna give it away, but it's in the book. But he talks about that, and he talks about how he had a conversation with him, and everybody thinks he just ran up on him
Yeah.
He said, nah, man, I'm from the hood. I just invited him in and we talked like two men. And
Yeah.
he said the interesting thing about Rafa Edmond, and for those who don't know, he was a hustler in the streets of DC. He said that dude was super intelligent and
Mm-hmm.
very respectful in their conversation. And that was it. You know what I'm saying?
Yo, Rayful was ahead of the game when you look at the documentary. Like he already was putting his people on to the fact that the feds, they're not checking for the drugs, it's the bodies.
Yeah.
So Rayful was like, yo, we're not even gonna be retaliating out here in the street. We're not gonna, as long as we're not dropping bodies, they're not gonna come for us type of
They
thing.
can keep making money. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a very interesting documentary. But can you speak on a little bit about what was it like playing in the Big East, where literally every game there's a lottery pick, you know what I mean, on that team?
Listen, man, when I was getting recruited in high school, I was getting recruited by all Big East teams and the University of Florida. I don't know if you remember when they were really good. They had like before Billy Donovan got there. You remember when they went to the Final Four? I think it was like Lon Kruger or somebody was the coach.
Yeah.
They had the meat hook and they had a couple of.
Yeah.
I remember this coach came all the way up to the Bronx to recruit to see me play, and I told him, I said, listen, man, I'm not coming. I love y'all school, but I got to play in the Big East. I said I got to play in the Big East, and I cut that out, and I just kept all Big East schools because it was magical, man, around that time, you know. And when I came in the Big East, again, Kerry Kittles was on my team. We had Ray Allen, and then AI, and that's not to mention John Wallace and all the other. I just missed Moten and them at Syracuse. He 1 year ahead of me. I mean, 1 year he was a senior when I was a freshman. But yo, every team, and we're not even talking about Sham God and Providence and them boys and Austin
Thomas,
yeah, man. It was, people forget Miami was also in the Big East around that time. Tim James, they were really good. So every night it was a battle. Every night. There was no off nights. You know, maybe when Rutgers came in to the Big East, they were terrible.
Right.
But you didn't have a night where you could relax, and it was war, man. But I loved it, man.
I remember Connecticut, the state started really getting behind UConn around that time. They had just had the dream season when the Dove NFL, Tate George and Chris Smith and them boys. So UConn was on the come up as far as the men were concerned.
I had it down to Villanova and UConn. That was my last two.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? That was my last two.
People don't remember how good Danielle Marshall was in college, man.
Oh my God.
Yo, he in my opinion, and I'm a huge college basketball fan, I would jump out there and say Danielle Marshall had his last year at UConn was top 5 that I've seen with myself. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think Kimba may have had a better season than him when they went on that 9 game. You know what I'm saying?
You mean top 5 at UConn? No doubt.
Yeah. No doubt. Top 5 at UConn. Yeah.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. Yeah. I mean, Kimba, Ray Allen, Danielle, Rich Hamilton. I can't think of the fifth.
Teron Butler was another one.
You might have to throw El Amin in there because that boy gave me a lot of trouble. I'm telling you.
El Amin was the problem.
Yo, he looked fat. He looked fat, man. He looked fat, and you think he's slow. Yo, that dude was bouncy. He was quick. I hated guarding him, man. I hated guarding that dude, man.
The main problem was he couldn't stay off Garden Street in Hartford, man.
He was a wild dude.
He was on Garden Street all the time, man.
Yeah,
all the time.
I played against him overseas a couple times. He was a wild dude, man. But he could play, man. That dude could play, man.
So I think that culturally, like if we were to do a documentary about Black culture, AI gets his own chapter. To me, you know what I mean? I think that it's possible to fathom that at one point AI was more popular than Michael Jordan, as far as just like people idolized everything about this dude. Everybody wanted to look like him. They wanted to, dress like him. They wanted the whole swag that he had. And I remember, like, when he was at Georgetown, and then people don't realize how good Georgetown was that second year when he had Victor Page. Because Victor Page was a dog too.
Oh, I know how good they were. Because they dropped he dropped 40 on us. I know.
Victor Page was a runaway train, man. Like that. And I know some people from the DC area that say he was a wild boy. Like,
he was. He's doing some time right now, man.
Yeah.
He's gotten a lot of trouble, and that's just a shame. But and John Thompson talks about him in his book as well. What I was just talking about. But Victor Page was a scorer, man.
Wasn't Junkyard Dog on that team too?
Yep, he was on that team. Jerome Jahidi White. It was crazy, man. Those guys. When I came, and you gotta understand, I'm a freshman when that team. So it was like trying to guard those guys, especially because this was around the time when John Thompson starts changing his offense. Because when Iverson got there, they went from focusing on getting the ball inside like they had over the years before, like to when they had Mourning and Kimbe and even Othello. He was there before Iverson. Yeah. Now they just giving the ball to Iverson, and Page was just as crazy as far as like they had just wide open offense.
Yeah, they used to put a dude on their team that locked up named Boubacar Al.
I
just can't never forget his name.
Yeah, he was from Africa, man.
He was a
tough dude, man.
Yo, he one of the dudes that's just like, I'm gonna earn my minutes by playing full court defense on anybody. Like,
he was tough, man, and it was hard to guard guys like that because when you got two guys that don't have a conscience like Iverson and Page, I don't care what you do, they got the green light, man. And they locked up on defense. So
people don't realize, Page had his fair amount of games, but he had more than Iverson. Like, you know what I mean? Like it would be like, AI had 25, Page had 28. Like, you know what I mean? Like that left hand, boy, he was a problem.
Yes, he was.
So you didn't play for Jay Wright, right? You played for
No, I played for Steve Lapis. My 4 years. Jay Wright came maybe 3 or 4 years after. 3 years after I left, I graduated. Then Jay Wright came.
I've had some interesting conversations with that brother. I would say he's one of the best recruiters in the game. Smooth dude, man.
He's one of the best things that happened to Villanova. He's given me a lot of help off the court when it comes to connecting with alumni of Villanova, and I never played for Jay Wright. Mm-hmm. One of the best things I think he did was when he got in, he connected the old alumni like myself and people from the past, Alvin Williams, Jason Lawson, Kirk Hills, and got us to start coming back to the school because we weren't coming back to the school at that point. And once you start reaching out to the alumni and you start getting people to come back, that brings excitement around the program. Yeah. So now guys like Randy Foy, Kyle Lowry, those guys, they seeing us come back and they see that it's a tradition and it's a history. But that kind of had died off for a while before Jay Wright got there, So
Villanova has such a rich history when it comes to basketball. And again, I've heard John Thompson talk about that that championship run Villanova went on. Like just legendary to look at the stats from that game and how literally they had to play the perfect game to beat.
Talking about 85.
Yeah.
That was the first one that popped it all off of Villanova, and we had like kind of a dry spell for a lot of years until we started taking off again. I'm trying to remember when the second championship was. That was either 13 or 14. Can't remember which year. But 85, Rolly Massimino was a legend at Villanova because of what they did. They played the perfect game. I think they shot like 90% from the field, man.
87% from the field.
Yeah, it was crazy, man.
Think about this from because John Thompson is my coach and hero. But think about the fact that if it wasn't for 90% from the field from Villanova, and then the turnover against Carolina, John Thompson probably wins 3 in a row.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They had that type of team. He doesn't get the respect for being a great X's and O's guy, and he talks about that in the book. To see when you're a black coach, especially when you're a big man, a lot of big guys don't get the respect for being tacticians that like say a guard or a point guard does. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I think that he caught a lot of flack or not. He didn't get enough respect. And I think some of that goes back to racism and thinking, well, they just run up and down and they just rebound and play hard. It ain't really about how the plays he drawing up and all that, right? But yes, it was. You know what I'm saying? John Thompson had a good scheme, you know, and those guys don't get respect for that, like that like some of the white coaches would have got, you know.
Right.
So yeah, he's one of the best, man. Nolan Richardson too, from Arkansas.
I used to love watching the Razorbacks, man. The Razorbacks was so tough back then. That 40 minutes of hell.
40 minutes of hell, man.
Yeah. It was some black coaches making major moves back then. So let's fast forward a little bit because I feel like you were on. I don't even think it's arguable to say one of the greatest teams to ever play in the NBA. At that time, in my mind, if you was to give me the choice, if I could pick any player from any era, like to build a team, I would pick 2000 Shaq first. You know what I mean? Like there was no human being that could do anything with that dude around that time. Like literally, like he was just amazing to watch, and I feel like a lot of his greatness was muffled. I was put it that way because the NBA didn't know how to officiate him. You know what I mean? Like he didn't get a fair shake with okay, call a foul. Because if you want me to get him off me, I can. You know what I mean? Like if you're gonna allow me to turn with my elbows high, then it's curtains for everybody. But you know what I'm saying? But if you're gonna allow them to grab on me or whatever and not call the fouls, then whatever. But I want to know your perspective from being inside the locker room because you was a member of the 2000 championship LA Lakers that won the NBA championship in that year. What was it like being around a young up and coming Kobe and Shaq, arguably one of the greatest or one of the most unstoppable players to ever play the game?
Yeah, it's funny, man, because growing up, Shaq, I had Shaq's basketball card when I was in high school, and the first thing I noticed when I got his card is that we had the same birthday. So that was a crazy thing. Like I never thought I'd end up playing with him one day. But the funny thing, I remember when I first got to LA, the first couple pickup games before the season even start, we just playing pickup, and I'm running up and down the court, and I'm like almost like in awe, like that I'm first of all that I'm even out there, right? And secondly, that I'm playing in Los Angeles, and thirdly, that I'm playing with Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal. And after running up and down the court a few times, Shaq literally said this to me. He said, "Yo, you done stargazing? You ready to play now?" Like he could see it in my face,
right?
That I was just running up and down, like, and that's when it clicked to me. I was like, "Yo, I gotta play. I can't be. I gotta get over this. Like, oh, I can't believe I'm here type of thing, And that was some great advice. But playing with Shaq, man, first and foremost, at that time, Shaq was the best player on our team. A lot of people tend to forget because they've seen Kobe for so many years.
Right.
Shaq was the best player. It wasn't even close at that point, right?
He was the best player in the world at that time.
It wasn't even close. I never threw the ball in a post so easy in my life. I played basketball for a lot of years, and it was, you got to make the right entry pass. You got to make sure you get it to the wing, get it bounce pass. With him, you could just throw it. He always had position. There was nobody that could get in front of him. You know what I'm saying? So it was the easiest post pass you could ever make. I've never seen somebody that great loaf in practice so much though. Like he was so big and so good, and his body was taking such a beating that he couldn't even practice. He would practice maybe 40%. I'm serious. Because first of all, he could hurt somebody in practice. It was
Right.
just so he didn't want to do that. Second of all, he put in so many minutes and he was getting beat. It was weird for me because I'm coming from college and I had never seen like NBA practices. So I'm like, what is first couple weeks? I'm like, man, this dude, he ain't even trying, right? Then on the other end, you got Kobe Bryant, who's like an animal. Like that's what I'm used to. He practicing like he played college basketball. But as the season went on, I started to get it because Kobe wasn't taking the punishment that Shaq was taking. You know what I'm saying? Shaq, you right. People was hanging on him. You could call foul every play down the court. And another thing people don't think, he worked on his free throws. It just didn't work. Like every day. I mean, it was literally every day you just watching him work on it. It wasn't like he didn't put the work in. It just never happened.
I tell people, even if you think you're a good shooter, try to go make 10 in a row with a tennis ball.
Yeah, his hands are too big.
Like, his hand, like the ball was too small for this dude.
Small for his hands. Yeah.
It was. So the legend of Kobe's work ethic, is that legend or is it real?
Yo, man, let me tell you a story. I remember one of the things that used to infuriate me was when I would get to practice an hour and a half before practice. I like to get there early. That was always my thing. Even at Piscataway High in New Jersey, Villanova, I gotta be the first person. I like that quiet. I like when the gym is quiet. It's just me. The ball bounce, work on my game, get myself together, right? I was never a guy that stayed after practice. I was always a guy that got there early before everybody else. And when I got to the Lakers, I always hour and a half, try to get there before him, before practice. And I would get there and he'd be there already. And it used to bother me because, again, I don't like nobody else in the gym before me.
Right.
So one time I came 2 hours before practice and he was still there. I wasn't coming no more than 2 hours. I wasn't going to do that. That's just too much, right? And so I remember we played the Washington Wizards preseason game, and Kobe broke his wrist in the game. And I remember in my head, it's selfish to say this, it's kind of messed up, but in my head, I remember thinking, well, damn, he ain't going to be at practice tomorrow. I'll be the first person finally to practice. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yo, son, we flew back to LA. Next day we had practice. I got there. This dude is in the gym dribbling with his left hand with a cast on his right hand, already sweating. I was at that was the first time in my life where I finally just accepted, like, I'm never gonna be as good as somebody else. You know what I'm saying? Like, even then, as foolish as I was like, at some point I'm gonna be better than Kobe. Like, you just think as a basketball player, you play in the NBA, you think I thought I was gonna play 10, 20 years in the league, right?
Right.
I was like, at some point I'm gonna pass him. You think that. You gotta think that, even if you're wrong, because that's the only mentality. At that moment when he was in there, I was like, I'm never gonna be as good as him. I just admitted that in my head. You know, it was deflating almost. You know.
So was we've seen a lot of video and heard a lot of stories. Was Kobe the type to really go at teammates to try and sharpen their skills, or was he a bully? The way that, like, he's been kind of like betrayed.
Kind of. I mean, you know, we used to play one-on-one a lot before practice. And I never won, not one time. We used to play one-on-one in the post. And I think one game we would play a 5, and he'd always be working on something. I'd be playing full out. He'd be working on some new move, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And you know, I remember when you talk about him as far as him being a bully. Yeah, kind of, right? Because I remember one game before the game, he wanted me to guard him, and we was in warm-ups, you know? And I was like, cool. So I played a little D, and he missed, and I got the ball out, and I was like, all right, you guard me. And he was like, nah, you just guard me. You ain't gonna play today, right? Why you need to shoot? And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, man, why you need to shoot? Just guard me. I'm working on my. And I was like, nah, I ain't doing it. I was like, I'm a pro, you know. And he got mad as hell. I just walked away. He ain't talked to me for like a week, yo. You know what I'm saying? I had to put my foot down. That was my own dignity, you know.
Right.
But yeah, he was kind of like that, you know. He was and we went back because you gotta understand. Kobe went to school right around the corner from Villanova. He 1 year behind me. So I played AAU versus Kobe. I scored 42 points on Kobe Bryant in high school. He had 50. I know, but you know, and this was in a game. It was him, Vince Carter. No, Vince Carter wasn't there. Vince Carter was supposed to be there. Him, Kevin Freeman, you remember him, and Tim Thomas. The Kobe Bryant, Kevin Freeman, and Tim Thomas was all on the same AAU team. Vince Carter came the next day. Right. I scored 42 points, but Kobe. So I had in my head, I wasn't in this all. I was kind of like, yo, you know, but and we were recruiting him at Villanova because he went to school right around the corner. So, but when I got to the Lakers, he was already a star, man. And yeah, there were times where, you know, you be in practice and you be wide open, and he thought he could make the shot, and most times he was right. And when he did pass it to you, you felt this pressure, even in practice, to make a shot. Because if you didn't make it, next time, no, he ain't passing it to you. Because that's just how he was, you know? So, yeah, it was a lot of pressure playing with somebody that great, to be honest with you.
Do you ever get into the debates on who's the GOAT? Is Kobe better than Jordan? Is Kobe better than LeBron? Is LeBron better than Jordan?
First of all, nobody's better than Jordan. There's no, I don't want to hear about, you know, God rest his soul. Kobe Bryant was great. He's Jordan too. So nobody's better than Jordan and what he was able to do and the dominance in the game. You can make arguments. You know, people make arguments about LeBron. No, LeBron, as great as he is, LeBron's looked too bad too many times in the finals, and you can't erase those moments. You know what I'm saying? To me, you got to bring up Wilt Chamberlain and people like that, because Wilt Chamberlain was dominant, right? But then in the playoffs, not so much, right? And he lost so many times to Bill Russell. So to me, the only GOAT is Jordan. There's no other conversation. To me, the greatest Laker is Magic Johnson. Kobe Bryant is 2. And I played with Kobe. So, and then there's an argument that you can make an argument that Kobe Bryant is 3, to be honest with you, because Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So there's, you know, it's depending on which way you want to go. Right. But Kobe's one. Is Kobe a top 10 player of all time? Absolutely. Absolutely. When we talk about the GOAT, to me, it's Michael Jordan. It's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You know, LeBron had a chance, but he looked too bad early in his career. He lost, you know, too badly. Like when they lost to Dallas, and he just kind of quit. You know, not being able to get past Golden State so many times. It's, you know, I can't give him the GOAT status. Now, if he wins like 2 more and dominates, I think we got to revisit this, you know?
So my rebuttal to that, because I'm a huge LeBron fan, probably number 1.
Me too. Yeah.
We got a chance to see LeBron's growing pains in the finals.
Yeah.
Jordan's growing pains happened before the finals. Yes. So he lost. He just didn't lose in the finals because Detroit was in the same conference as him. LeBron went through those growing pains on the biggest stage that you possibly could go through them. And I also say Jordan didn't play. So in today's NBA, and it's all speculative, you know, you could say this could have happened, that could have happened. But in today's NBA, somebody, especially because they was paying Scottie Pippen peanuts. Right. After that second chip, somebody's offering Scottie $200 million. He's out. In today's NBA, you know what I mean? Like nobody's gonna let Scottie stay on the Bulls making $8 million a year. for him being arguably the second best player in the league, or at least one of the top 5. The Supersonics, somebody gonna say, look, man, we got $100 million for you to lead that madness and come over here. You know what I mean? So, and the Bulls were notorious for not wanting to pay players. Yeah. So I don't
but
think that.
Well, what about this though? Even when Jordan lost, he never looked bad.
It's a fact.
He always was the best player on the court. LeBron looked bad a few times, and there were times where arguably you could walk away from the game and say he wasn't the best player on the court in this series, right?
Besides Dallas, what series could you say that in?
When Curry, there was 1 year where I take that back because Curry disappeared
against Golden State.
Yeah, I take that back because Curry disappeared down the stretch.
And Jordan didn't have to play like in today's NBA. Teams are low, so we actually got a chance to see. Greg Popovich actually made a comment and told New Orleans don't give the Lakers AD. Like, this is a coach. This don't got nothing to do with you. But he's saying, yo, don't do it. Like, in today's NBA, teams are loading up to not lose to LeBron James. Michael Jordan didn't have to play against that. In today's NBA, if today's mentality was back then, you would have saw Patrick Ewing join Portland Trailblazers, or you would have saw Barkley before, not on the decline of his career, but during his prime. You would have saw Barkley go and join the Supersonics and play with Rain Man and Gary Payton. You know what I mean?
Man, but see, Mike, there were years where Mike was the MVP of the league,
dunk champion,
MVP of the All-Star game,
defensive player of the year,
Finals MVP, defensive player of the year. He dominated in every fashion, and you know what I'm saying? Like, there was never a question when he played who was the best player in the league. There have been too many years where LeBron, and I think most times he is the best player, but there have been too many years in his prime where you're like, well, is it KD? Is it Curry? Is it when Jordan played? It was just Mike, and I don't want to hear about Mike's era was tougher. I don't care what nobody say. I hate when people say stuff like, well, the players are more athletic today. Bull crap.
Players today are more skilled.
Who was more athletic than Shaq in his prime? Like, who was more athletic than Dominique Wilkins? You know what I'm saying? Who was more athletic? Who was more athletic than the Rain Man, Sean Kemp? Don't tell me that these guys. I don't like when we say, like, there was no big man that was ever more athletic than Wilt Chamberlain. We see stuff in black and white, and we forget, like, and we assume.
So I've always been one to try to dispel that. I think Shaq would have broke Wilt Chamberlain's arm.
Yo, Wilt Chamberlain was huge, dog.
Right.
Like, Wilt Chamberlain was bigger than Dwight Howard. I think people forget that. Like, it ain't like he was like this small dude. Like,
Shaq was different. You know what Shaq would have did with a 6'9" Bill Russell? Like, you know what I mean?
Well, Bill Russell at that time probably would have played another position. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, the game changed. Like Bob Cousy's not an all-star in any other era. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
Havlicek's not an all-star in today's NBA.
But you got to also remember. Now, Sarah, close that door. You got to also remember what we not taking into account is the intangibles of players. Mm-hmm. Like, Bob Cousy was great at that time. So if you put him in this era, he's gonna do things that are of this era, right? Bill Russell was super in shape and could run the lane and was a fierce competitor. You put him in this era, he gonna figure that out. You know what I'm saying? Like you had to dribble like this back then. You couldn't carry the ball. And you think if Bob Cousy could pull a ball like this and cross over, he wouldn't have did it? You know what I'm saying? So I disagree with that. Like, people think, if you take a guy in one era and you put him here. They were playing in Chuck Taylors, man.
That's a great point.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and they ain't had nobody wrapping their ankles. Them jokers was smoking cigarettes at halftime. Like, Come on, man.
Right.
These guys can't even play the full season now. You know?
So let's we got like about 20, 25 minutes left. Let's get into some pop culture things. And some of the questions I'm going to ask you, obviously we're friends. I know your opinion on these, but I just want to get you to kind of speak on them on camera.
Hold on, let me close my door. My son. Go ahead, I'm listening. Yeah.
So, do you listen to hip hop a lot?
Yeah.
Okay, who's the greatest of all time to you, man? I just heard your son name is Nasir.
Yeah, well, there you go. Like for me, my greatest hip hop MC is Nas, right? And that's who I named my son after.
Mm-hmm.
I understand the arguments. Some people say Biggie, some people say Jay-Z. For me, it's Nas and Rakim 1-2. And then we start having conversations about everybody else. Biggie was one of the greatest lyricists ever, but not enough longevity. You know what I'm saying? For me. But in that little span, he was outstanding. Some people talk about Tupac because of the heart and everything that he got. But for me, it's Nas because of what he's been able to do, the lyrics and the message behind a lot of the stuff he was talking about. For me.
So Hove is not even in your top 3.
He's probably in my top 5 to 7. The problem is there were a few albums that Hove had that I hated. You know what I'm saying? Like The Gift and the Curse, I did not like that album. I didn't like it. You know what I'm saying? Lifetimes, the great disc, the great CD. What was it? Lifetimes. That one was just okay to me. But then there's some that are bangers. You know what I'm saying? So with Nas, even like Nas's weak stuff. I'm sorry?
You like Nostradamus?
I liked it better than I liked it better than Gift and a Curse.
I hear you.
You know what I'm saying?
So it's Nas, Rakim. Who rounds out your top 5?
Nas, Rakim, Biggie. This is gonna be controversial, man. This is gonna be controversial, but Big Daddy Kane.
I love Kane.
And KRS-One.
Those
are like, you know what I'm saying? Like
Kane don't get enough credit.
Yeah, he don't get enough credit.
There is no
man. I saw him perform live one. I'm sorry.
There's no Hove without Kane.
Yeah, I saw Kane perform live one time. I was like a groupie, man. Yeah. I was jumping up and down like it was. You know what I'm saying?
I think my love for words came from Big Daddy Kane. I used to buy the album and remember they would have the lyrics and the liner notes. Like, yo, I knew Kane's whole album from beginning to end. Like, you know what I mean? And it's crazy because I haven't spit him in a long time, but if it comes on right now, like I can still like
just come back to you.
Yeah, like
he was ahead of his time. Kane was ahead of his time. Like when lyricists, he was already with the wordplay and he was ahead of his time. Guys like Rakim and Kane, guys weren't rapping like that then. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
True,
except them two.
So, are there any new rappers that you feeling that you like?
Not as much, but you know, obviously I like Drake for the melodies and all that, but he's not like, you know, Kendrick Lamar is more my speed, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I really like him. And I'm a J. Cole guy. I like J. Cole. If that's new, that might not even be new anymore, right? I mean, right. Now they might be getting into like veteran stage, you know what I'm saying? So of the new stuff, not really. I listen to it, but I ain't gonna be singing it 20 years from now.
You know what people sleep on is that J. Cole song, Let Nas Down.
Oh,
the remix with Nas, I Ain't Mad at You, Young King. Like, man. Yo, classic hip hop.
Yeah, he don't get enough love, man. J. Cole don't get enough love, man.
Yeah, I mean he tries not to be commercial, and I think now it's all about. Did you follow at all any of like the Chicago drill, any of that type of stuff?
I ain't really follow it. I've read about it, man, but too much violence and stuff happening, man. Anything that's perpetuating that, it reminds me, it brings me back to Biggie and Tupac. And not that that's what they were doing, but that's kind of how it ended. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I can't get with anything that I think is taking our people down the wrong path to the point where they actually are gonna do stuff. You know, we all listen to some stuff that, you know, Mobb Deep and, you know, the NWA stuff that wasn't quite, you know, positive music all the time, right? But when you actually are getting people to start murdering people and stuff in the street, I'm not with that, man. At least not at this age. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
And there's some record execs that's like benefiting, like they're signing these kids knowing that they're gonna die. You know what I mean? Like and hoping that when they die, their catalog triples in value. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy that they're signing kids knowing that this kid is probably not going to make it to 2 workdays.
And these kids got to be smarter than that. You got to know what's happening. You got to know what they trying to do, and you can't just fall in love with the money. But a lot of times, when you're ignorant, and I mean ignorant in the true form of the word, you know, it's just not a good look, man. No.
So that leads me to my next thing I wanted to holler at you about, which was, did you see the movie American Skin?
Yes.
My man Nate Parker directed it and starred in it. What was your opinion on, what happened in the movie?
Well, first and foremost, I was just happy to see Nate Parker back on the scene.
Yeah.
He kind of when Birth of a Nation came out, and then he got in that controversy. It kind of derailed him, and that was a good movie too. You know what I'm saying? So I was happy to see.
Ruined the movie. That ruined the movie. You know,
it ruined it. Yeah,
Birth of a Nation doesn't get the credit it deserves because of the controversy. So.
Right, and let's be honest. I mean, it was a mistake he made, and well, whatever happened. But that kind of stuff follows you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
The movie, the ending, man. It's like, I guess for me as a black man, the fact that as soon as he got ready to walk out, I was like, he gonna get shot. Mm-hmm. That the fact that my mind went right there, I was like, don't walk outside. And then it happened, and it still rocked me, even though I knew it was about to happen.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? My wife was watching, she was caught off guard. I was like, no, and then pop that. It's like when it goes off, you just sit there and you don't move.
You know where I felt like that, brother? A few years back when Barack, in 2008, when Barack became president.
Yeah, when he was walking out,
he got out the limo and started walking. I'm like, no, what are you doing? Like, I felt like this is going to all end terrible. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I got nervous for him. Like, yo, don't get out the limo.
Don't get out the limo. Right.
Yeah.
I'm also like for that movie. When you think about damn, I lost my train of thought. It's like it's like as black people, we always got to be better, right? And he could have killed them people in that movie, right? And he didn't.
Right.
He just wanted to clear his name, and then you see where you're bigger, and then it don't matter. And so it makes you wonder why we always got to be bigger and better. Why can't we just be like you? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. There was a scene in that movie that the directing was amazing, with the Hispanic brother talking to the Hispanic cop.
Yeah.
And I think they purposely didn't put subtitles up.
Yeah.
But you still knew exactly what he was saying to him, yo. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you felt that, yo, he has severe disdain for this Hispanic cop. Like, you know what I mean? You could just tell that that's what he was saying to him. And the cop was giving it right back to him. You know what I mean? But again, the fact that we didn't know what they were saying, that was real heavy to me. The way that they directed it like that.
I never seen anything like that. That was the first time where somebody put something in another language and they know you're not going to know, but they just want you to feel the passion.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. There's those two exchanges. Did you see One Night in Miami?
Yes.
Okay.
Another
Regina King did her thing in that movie. Well, what was your takeaway from that?
The dialogue was so powerful, right? Because you start thinking about, damn, what if these brothers would have lived, right? What it would have been like if Malcolm would have been around longer. You know what I'm saying? What they could have done if they would have been able to come together. You know, to have that to even think about it. It's kind of painful to even think about that though. Like for Regina King to write that and have us have to revisit that, as good of a movie as it was, it's also painful to have to think about, damn, this what it could have been. It's like as Black people thinking about like what we would have been if they would have took us from Africa, right? Like and brought us over here and enslaved us and then Jim Crowed us and all of that. Happy for Regina King, because I'm happy that a lot of Black people starting to get behind the camera and control the narrative. You know what I'm saying? We need more of that. That was a great movie, man. I'm gonna watch it again. I watched it twice. The dialogue is just amazing.
I think a lot of us, we've adopted Malcolm as like our spiritual father. You know what I mean? Like the fact that he was taken from us, and he has become the example of like manhood and masculinity and being Black and proud. But I feel like this movie showed us a different side, a vulnerable side of Malcolm. And the way that he was pleading to Sam Cooke, and you know what I mean, and was emotional when Muhammad Ali felt like he was taking advantage of him. You know what I'm saying? So I think that was powerful for Regina to show those moments on screen, but just having those four pillars all be friends and be in the same space at the same time, and us get a chance to see them. Everything wasn't all happy. Like they were arguing, and you know what I mean, like, and disagreeing with each other.
Yeah, and it was good to see about Sam Cooke, because you kind of know about everybody else.
Right.
Sam Cooke's somebody that you don't hear about a lot.
Right.
And to see his viewpoint, like he wasn't on the same page as Malcolm, but he still was a strong Black man. Right.
Right.
You know, you don't have to be monolithic. You know,
to know that Malcolm encouraged him to write "Change Gonna Come." Like the song becomes more relevant to me now. You know what I mean? Like, like that was heavy to see that. Okay, so what about Black Judas? I mean, Black Judas and the Black Messiah. I'm sorry.
Yo, that was another one where when it ends, I couldn't move off the couch. You know, I work in downtown DC. My office is literally right across the street from the FBI building. So every day I can see the FBI building. I walk around the corner and go get something to eat. I see Edgar, whatever his name is, Hoover building, you know? Right. And I always thought to myself, man, I wonder, they got some skeletons in that building, right? It's, you know, and you kind of know that the FBI infiltrated a lot of organizations, Nation of Islam, Black Panthers, but to see it up close and realize that they had a whole like task force to take our leaders down, and they were able to do that and then just move on. To me, that's why the movie is so powerful, man. It's like it angers you, and it shows you like, damn, these brothers were so powerful that they at 21 years old, that they had to put a task force together to take a 21-year-old out. You know what I'm saying? To infiltrate and destroy his message. And it just shows you, man, when you educated, you can be powerful, man. And we need more young people, because it seemed like back in the day, people were more they were more into politics and activism at a young age, like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. Now it seems like when people are young, they don't get into it till they're like older, man. We need more young people, you know, young leaders.
What it did for me was put me in a mindset of like, yo, imagine what Fred Hampton was going to be if at 21. It's safe to say at 21 he was more advanced than Malcolm and Martin at the same age. You know what I mean? So this was just the beginning of who this young brother was going to be. You know
Think
what I mean?
about the FBI and Hoover. They thought about that exactly what you just said. That's what they did. They sat down and imagined what he was going to be,
On the
and
movie,
they said, "Hell no,
Hoover says, yo, he's too powerful to go to jail. We
gotta
got
go."
to kill him. We can't let him go to jail.
Yep, gotta go.
Like,
That and then the other part, the guy that was played by forgot the actor's name. He's doing a great job too,
or
man.
Lakeith Stanfield, yeah.
He's
Bill
doing a great
O'Neill,
job, man. Marquis.
yeah,
Like how that ate him up inside, that man ended up killing himself.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And how they find you at a weak moment and use that against you to because they knew that they could use that man against his own people because he had put that's another thing. You can't put yourself in a position where the government can use you. So if you're selling dope, if you rob, whatever you're doing, once you become once you put yourself in a position where you don't where the government or the state or the country can use you, you in a bad position, man. That's
Mm-hmm.
why I tell cats, man, you want to go out there and make money, you want to hustle, you want to do all this stuff on the street. If you get in a position where you owned by the state, you're gonna be demasculated then. You know what I'm saying?
I was having a movie discussion with a group of people in the brown table, and somebody brought up a great point. Like, it was easy to point the finger and be like, "Oh, he was a sellout, he a snitch." But yo, think about, like, he was younger than Fred Hampton,
Yeah.
so he was 18 years old,
Right.
getting caught. Like, yo, you got 6 to 10 years dangling over your head,
Right.
or you could do this. And he didn't care nothing about the Panthers, so he was like, "Yeah, I join them and snitch on them. I don't know nothing about that." But once he joined, then he started to be like, "Yo, these people,
this is real. Right.
This is real." So by the time everything came to a head, he was, so to speak, drinking the Kool-Aid, and he did believe in Fred Hampton. But he was already in too deep. You know what I mean? Like you say, you take the average, like, these dudes be snitching on people they grew up with.
Right.
Well, of course they'll snitch on some strangers.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if you get caught in that situation where they saying, "Look, man, you either got to give us 10 years of your life,
right,
or go tell on John."
Right.
You like, "Man, I don't know John. I tell him." Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
and it showed you that the dude had a heart by how tore up he was about it.
So they say Lakeith Stanfield, the actor, had to go to counseling after playing the role.
I read that. Yeah,
like, because it was so gut wrenching for him. He gets so into the character that he felt like he was doing exactly what Bill O'Neill was doing.
Yep. Yeah,
that
shows you, man. That's a great actor when you got to go to therapy. You that deep into the role.
The Golden Globes was just yesterday, and the brother that played Fred Hampton won Best Actor.
Yeah, he did. He deserved it too.
Yeah, so they're gonna win some more awards, man. I believe when the Academy Awards roll around. I think him, and I also think Lakeith Stanfield might get Best Supporting Actor.
He should. I mean, there's a movie I love called The Photograph. It didn't get a lot of love, but he did a great job in that movie, man. And he's really, I mean, he
became a star in ATL.
Yeah, I saw ATL. You forget some of the stuff he did. You forget he was in Get Out.
Get Out. Yeah,
that's when you know somebody's a good actor, when you can't even remember the last character because they're so good at the character that they in. You know what I'm saying? He's a star, man.
Yeah, young brother coming up, man. Yeah. Coming up. So I know that you're doing some big things with your former school, and I also know that mentorship and giving back to the community is like what you're really about. That's the main reason why I wanted to have you on. Can you touch on a little bit about what you're doing at your former school? And
man, I've been pulled back to do some work at Villanova now because a lot of the by the current student athletes. One of the calls that a lot of the Black student athletes gave to alumni, especially in this year that we've been going through with COVID and all the social unrest, civil unrest, and the black men continuing to get shot, Black men and women, and they were saying they need support. And a lot of the, when you go to a predominantly white school and you're a Black athlete, especially a school like Villanova that's very wealthy white people, it can be lonely, man. And you deal with a lot of racism. And I dealt with it 20 years ago, and they're still dealing with it now. So they were asking for support. Basically, y'all need to come back to campus. We need to see your faces. We need mentorship. We need to learn how to network. We need you guys to help us navigate these white spaces. You know, how do we keep our own identity as Black people and go to a predominantly white school? When can we be activists? All these different things that we're talking to the student athletes about, and we've been able to galvanize like a lot of former Black Villanova student athletes to now be more involved with the current student athletes. So we're just doing a little bit at a time. It's been kind of hard because of COVID, so we can't actually physically get back up to school. But we've been doing a lot of Zoom calls. We've been connecting current student athletes with Black alumni that are doing great things, accounting, running their own businesses, making sure people are getting mentored. And we got a lot more work to do. But I've just been, I'm actually heading up this student athlete engagement committee, which is basically trying to help the Black student athletes connect with the Black students on campus better, and also some things in the community together. So I'm real excited about it, man. And it makes me feel good to kind of give back to the Black students at Villanova, and hopefully they'll pay it forward. And when they get gone, they'll be doing the same thing.
No doubt, that's the way to heal the nation, brothers. For people to reach a certain level and then reach back and help those that came behind them.
Yes,
One
sir.
of my boys is up there that I coach AAU. Jermaine Samuels is my guy.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, big Jermaine is dad. That's my people's.
Yeah,
man, big rope, man. He could cook, man. He came down. He had a cookout one time. He came down and took over the grill. And then his wife, Jermaine's mom, went to Dell State. So
okay.
we went to HBCU. She went before me, but no, that's a great family. As a matter of fact, Jermaine's younger brother plays at St. Joe's with Jim Calhoun right now, and I got a couple of my former players, Weaver players, that play over at St. Joe's with him. So
yeah, that's great.
I'm real intertwined with the family, so I speak to Jermaine a lot.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
He's a good dude, man. Real good dude. Were you at Villanova with Brooks?
Yeah, I played. I recruited Brooks actually. He was on his recruiting visit. I was his host.
Oh, okay.
So I did one my senior year, his freshman year, when he was at Villanova, and we had a great time, man. He's one of the more deeper thinkers that I play with. You know what I'm saying? Like conversations that we had and we still have. You know what I'm saying?
Very intelligent brother. A lot of people thought he was definitely gonna go to UConn because of the sister. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of surprised that
we got him, man. We got him down. We showed him we had the family atmosphere. And a lot of time, you need to get away from home sometimes, man.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? UConn was right in his backyard. I think sometimes getting away, it helps you to grow a little bit.
I don't think anybody who hasn't gotten away from home has truly self-actualized. That's my own personal belief. I think that it's almost like a rite of passage. You don't truly know yourself until you're somewhere alone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where your support system is 5 hours. You know what I mean? Like, that's when you are truly know who you are.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So we're gonna wrap this up with like some last minute things, like the NBA season. What's your thoughts on that, man? Do the Nets have enough to, or the Lakers gonna repeat? Or
this is hard, man. This is hard because there's so many things up in the air right now. Like I'm not sold that the Nets are gonna be this dominant team that everybody thinks, because I know I'm just going by past history of Kyrie and Durant and Harden, and especially Harden and Kyrie. Sometimes when things get tough, they get a little funny, man, emotionally. You know what I'm saying? So and in the playoffs, you got to play defense. So they outscoring people right now, and they've been doing well the last 10 games or so. But I'm not sold yet that they definitely gonna be in the finals or win the whole thing. With LA, it all depends on the health of damn
AD.
AD, right? It depends on his health and how quick he can get back and get in the rhythm if he comes back. You know what I'm saying? If he not there, they don't got a shot. It's over. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
So
I say the same thing. I feel like Durant missed a year and a half. And I
right.
think that the Nets are trying to underplay this injury, but you don't like sit out for 6 weeks,
Yeah.
for a leg injury following an Achilles,
Right.
and it's serious.
Yeah.
So who knows if Durant can come back?
Right. Who knows if he's gonna be right? And Achilles is one of the toughest things to come back from. So he did come back and he looked good for a while, but that thing you can't play around with that, man.
Yeah.
So the NBA is so crazy this year because, like, look, going into the league season, I thought, okay, Milwaukee gonna be tough. They look like trash.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So,
and there's a lot of things that can happen at the trade. Like if Lowry goes to the Clippers, it's lights out.
Yeah.
Because like Lowry is one of my favorite guys. Like I really like guys that just show up. Like
he a bulldog, man. He a bulldog.
I'm showing and then if you look at his career, look at how well he does against the Stephs and the Kyrie. If those dudes have a big game, they have 30. He had 26.
All Kyrie, I mean, all Kyle had to do was get past that. He got that label for a while of not showing up in the playoffs, right? And then once he broke past that, that was it. Because that was really his only thing. Regular season, he was doing his thing. And then he had a couple years in a row where his playoff performance was just subpar, right? But now he didn't got past that, won the chip. That monkey's off the back.
Right.
He's tough. That's a tough dude, man.
So they say he's going to either Philly or the Clippers. Either place he goes.
Now, if he go to Philly, that elevates them to my favorite coming out the East because they already was playing well. If he goes to Philly,
and even if the Nets get Drummond, Embiid be killing Drummond. Like it's like he be destroying Drummond. Like that's just a bad matchup for Drummond. You know what I mean?
Not a great matchup for him. No, not at all.
like that's just the one guy that no matter every time they play, and Embiid is a clown, so he be talking about it. Like Drummond don't want no smoke with me. Like,
and what's wrong with Miami?
Like, I mean, COVID.
How does that happen from one year to the next? Like, I don't understand. I never seen.
They were bubble good. It was teams that was good because of the bubble. Like, I mean, sense. That it's one thing to play in an empty gym. It's a whole nother thing to play. With people throwing popcorn, telling you trash, talking about your mama and all that. You know what I'm saying? So I think the bubble was a different kind of chip. Because you saw all kind of records being broke down. Donovan Mitchell going for 57, and you know what I mean. You saw all kind of things that you don't, wouldn't have happened in the real, playing on the road. There's no way the Nuggets beat the Clippers, in LA like that. You know what I'm saying? Game 7 and like that. I don't think that would have happened if it wasn't in a bubble. So I think this year is going to be, like you said. AD's health, KD's health, who gets Drummond, who gets Lowry. Is there any other, like they're talking about moving Westbrook possibly? If Westbrook goes to a contender, you know what I mean?
I would love to see Westbrook go somewhere where he can really compete again. I love his game. I know he's a little wild, but I love people that bring it every night, man.
Every night.
He also, I don't know if you know this, he's putting out a documentary, man, on he actually is producing a documentary on Black Wall Street. It's gonna be on the History Channel.
I saw that.
Yeah, that's big, man. That's showing a lot of these guys are doing a lot of stuff off the court, man. But
and I've been so impressed seeing Dennis Schroeder on the national stage. Yes. You know what I mean?
Although when he came in, I was kind of like, man, you giving up Rondo?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I know Rondo can coast, but that playoff time, that dude wins you games, man. And I didn't like them letting him get away. I know, there was nothing they could do, but he's played well. He's played well. You know what I'm saying? But I still don't I trust Rondo.
He's doing the same thing that Rondo did. He's going to use this year, whether they win it a lot or not. he's improved his stock. And now he's gonna go get a bag. Like I don't think LA gonna be able to re-sign him.
Yeah, they might not be able to.
Yeah,
but can he show up in the playoffs? We know Rondo will. Can he?
Right. Well, yeah, I think he had a good run in OKC last year, but it's a different level. It's a different stage.
Different. Yeah, it's different. It's
So
different.
if you had to put your money on one team right now, who would you say is gonna win it? Hello?
Oh, did I lose you?
No, I'm here.
Hold on. My computer started bugging out. One team. Damn. I mean, can I assume everybody's healthy?
Everybody's healthy.
AD's back.
AD's back.
I'm going with the Lakers.
Are they? So who's coming out the East?
Philly.
I
think this is their year to come out the East. I'm going with Philly. I don't believe in Brooklyn, man. Yeah. I don't, man. I don't. I know, and I could be way off, and they might dominate, but Philly's been there enough times and has been in the conversation enough times where I think they got a much better coach now. You know what I'm saying? And especially if Kyle go there, it's a wrap, right?
Right.
But I don't know. I get a good feeling about Philly for some reason, man. You know?
Yeah, I think I mean if the Nets get Drummond, which it looks like they are, that changes things as far as everybody else. But if they don't get Drummond, they can't beat the Bucks or the Sixers in a 7-game series because they have nobody to match up with those bigs. KD is not trying to guard Giannis or Embiid, or, you know what I mean? And I feel like them giving up Jared Allen was foolish.
I didn't think that they were better than. I didn't think Brooklyn was better than Philly when they got when they got Harden. I think Philly was strong, man. I really do, and especially when they getting Doc Rivers. I think Philly hungry, man. I do. I think they're hungry, and you know they've been close a couple of times. I think I got my eyes on them, bro.
That sounds solid.
Yeah, but that's only with health. Because again, if AD ain't healthy, Lakers, you can forget it. You know what I'm saying? You can forget it. Right. LeBron can't carry him like that no more. You know what I'm saying?
No doubt. I mean, you look at those games when when AD went down, Schroeder was out too. I feel like they missed Schroeder more than they missed AD.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
Because the stats say they do well with AD on the bench. You know what I mean? They've been playing well like that. Well, brother, it was really good to have you on. We got a lot of great things going on. I love talking to you. Even when we disagree, I feel like I always learn something from you, and that's the most important thing in me, building my friendships, brother. So
me too.
Speed and continue to do big things, not only at your old school, but also in DC. I might be moving down there with you, man, pretty soon, man.
Man.
I might be leaving Connecticut, man.
Yo, let me know, man, if you come down here, man. Just look, DC, the whole DMV area, man. It's a great place to be black, bro.
I went to Del State. I used to be at Club Dream. All the time, man. All the time. Hey, I tell you this story. One of the greatest nights of my life. Tyson Willis from Connecticut. It's my guy.
Yeah, I know Tyson. I played against him a lot.
Yeah. So Tyson was hanging out with Coutinho. Him and Coutinho was still cool from URI.
Yeah.
This is when Coutinho was at the Rockets with Francis. So Steve Francis and AI was having a birthday party together at Club Dream. And Coutinho and Tyson was in there. So Tyson saw me down there, was just like, yo, come on over, come in here with VIP.
Yeah.
So I'm 6'5".
Right.
You know what I mean? The groupies don't know I'm not in the NBA, bro. Like, you know what I mean? So I'm at Club Dream having the night of my life, man. I always tell Tyson about that. Like, bro, I love you for that, man. Like, just going. Yeah, all they knew was there's another 6'5" dude walking around VIP. You know what I'm saying?
Man, Club Dream was the greatest club I ever went to in my life.
5 floors of magic.
In my life, man. That's the best club I ever went to. I used to drive from New Jersey. We used to go to the club, sleep in the car, and then go home. That was the best club I ever went to in my life.
Yo, it did at Howard homecoming time, Diddy used to like rent out a whole street.
Yeah.
Put a tent outside. Like, so like, you know, I mean, you know.
Yeah. It's DC's lovely, man. DC, and it's changing. DC has changed a lot with gentrification. I will say that.
No
But
doubt.
the whole area, even right outside of PG County, I live in Montgomery County, even Northern Virginia. It's just a great place from a job perspective for Black people in powerful positions. It's a little expensive, but you know the jobs pay a lot. It's a good place. And basketball wise, that's another thing people don't know. It is a hotbed for the talent down here, man. Is unbelievable. I didn't realize it till I got down here. I guess I just wasn't paying. It's a lot of good ball players down here, man.
I feel like I could watch a kid play, and I know if they're from DC or Baltimore, like that area got their whole different style of play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That aggressive down there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so,
man. Again, brother, it was great having you on. The episode will be streaming soon. I'll send you the link. I appreciate anything that I'm doing. I'm gonna make sure that you be involved in it.
I appreciate that, brother.
All right, King.
All right, man.
Episode 5 of the Blackprint now ending. Thank you guys for tuning in. See you next week.